Perhaps it would be better if manufacturers could sell directly to the consumer.
It would, but it's never going to happen. So they are these dealerships are protected by the states to make it where the manufacturers actually have to go through the dealerships to sell these vehicles. That's why Tesla has such an advantage when it comes to pricing, and because there's no other person to step in the way. But when you look at Ford, GM, Stellantis, whenever they're actually sending their vehicles out with an MSRP, it doesn't matter if they cut. I'll give you an example. So Ford just came out and said that they're reducing their prices of their F-150 Lightnings up to 17% because they're not selling, right? And we just went to a Ford dealership 2 weeks ago, and there was an MSRP on this Ford Lightning that we saw, but beside of it had a markup of $10,000. So Ford can lower the prices, their MSRPs, down to zero if they want to, but it doesn't matter. All that matters is what the dealer wants to sell it for, how much market adjustment they want to put on it, and that's the end price for these vehicles is what the dealer says. So manufacturer, yeah, they put an MSRP on it, whatever, that's all well and good. They could knock their MSRPs down 20%, but if you have dealers that add on 20% on top of the MSRP, it's a losing battle for these OEMs. If they want to actually decide to do the right thing by the customer and start lowering their prices, you're going to have manufacturer lower their prices, and you're going to have dealers want to lower their prices to make it better for the consumer. And I think the dealer side of it is going to be much harder to get to do the right thing by the consumer than the manufacturer. Because you got to think too, the manufacturer, they have shareholders. So if they start turning in these numbers that are just absolute garbage, and they say, okay, we're not moving any trucks, then they're going to have to say, okay, we got to lower our prices so we can actually move out some vehicles to show that to shareholders to say, okay, we're doing something to lower the prices. But these franchise dealerships, there's only a few of them out there that are actually publicly traded, but most of them are owned by a single person or a few partners or whatever, and they don't report to anyone but themselves. So they can make their own rules, and they're protected by legislation to be able to do whatever they want to do, because there are a lot of lawmakers, a lot of people in Congress, a lot of people that sign these papers to make things run. They have hands in some of these dealerships, and that's sad, but that's the truth. So,
vehicle make and model do you see the most at auction?
If I have to say a make, it's probably Toyotas and Hondas that are it's just because they've sold more vehicles, and I mean F-150. So it's just going to come down to percentages of what has been sold the most is what you're going to see come up at these auctions, because when people go to buy a new car, then they're trading in their old car, and it's really just the higher percentage vehicles that are actually purchased over the last 6 to 7 years. Those are the ones that you want to see pop up at auction. But you might be wanting to know about maybe repos too, because we've covered that a little bit. Seeing a lot of Challengers, Chargers, Mustangs, Camaros pop up in these toys, pop up as repos, and just a lot of the really older vehicles that are trash. It's just an even mix on that. A lot of Toyotas, Honda, actually not a lot of Toyotas for repos, but quite a bit of Hondas too, as far as repos go.
What do you think about Dodge vehicles? I think they're trash, especially their transmissions.
I get a lot of flack about this, but is flack the right word? I think flack is the right word. Dodge trucks are some of the ugliest things on the road, I think. I've never owned one, so I don't know how well they drive. I don't know how they feel, if they're good mechanically, bad mechanically. I know the older ones, they have bad transmissions, bad motors, but the newer ones. But the Ram trucks, I think, the front ends, the way that they put the hood scoops on a lot of the ones that are a few years older, they're just so ugly, and the interiors don't look good. I saw one, like I think it's a Rebel, that I like the interior of, but just I just think they're hideous. I know the ones that are a little bit older, and the ones that I would buy, the ones that are really old, like 20 plus years old, Transmissions were always a problem. Motors were always a problem. You had to be very particular about a Dodge truck. I haven't had those same kind of issues with F-150s. I mean, you got some motor issues with the F-150s, but not at the same extent that I've dealt with Dodges and GMs. At least the trucks that I've bought have seemed to be a little bit better. Now, I will say that the GMs we've had less problems out of, but if like I have an F-150, so I actually like the F-150s a little bit better. I've got a 2017 that I'm driving right now. But before that, I had a GMC Sierra. I think it was a 2015. And between those two trucks, I actually liked the Sierra better, but it started to develop some issues. And it was a lot of electrical stuff. But then I bought this F-150 and basically had to go in and do all the timing and valves and just everything inside the motor. We had to go in and redo it, and it's a 2017, so it's 6 years old. So I mean, that's just personal anecdote, so take that as you will. And somebody just asked, did I dump 4,000 into my engine in my F-150? No, it was not 4,000. It was
46 right at
$4,600, but we did everything. So there you go. That's my story about F-150s. And I just said Dodges are crap, but I just had to spend $4,600 on my F-150. That's 6 years old.
What is the wholesale price on an F-150 that you're seeing?
A wholesale price? I mean,
you don't see a lot.
We don't see any. You don't really see new F-150s pop up, but like on mine was a 2017, had 80,000 miles. I paid 15,000 for it wholesale. So that's kind of the range that you're seeing. If it's 5 or 6 years old, around 100,000 miles or less, you're seeing anywhere from 15,000 up to all the way. I've seen 25,000. Depends on how nice it is, what package is in there. And then you would assume that dealers are probably marking them up anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000, especially when you get to the higher range. They're marking them up quite a bit. So you might be watching this and not even know this, but this is a brand new channel. So if you could do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, it would really help me out.
Scott, who sent the $5 earlier, added a comment, so I wanted to share it. Just wanted to say thanks for all you do. Wife bought a 2013 Honda Fit for $73,800, has 160,000 miles. Great wisdom.
So I love that they put the exact dollar amount, because I'm hoping that they went in there and they knew exactly what they wanted to pay. And they're like, you know what? I'm not spending any amount over like $7,500 or whatever it was to try to get the out the door price. But him saying $73,800 makes me think that he knew exactly what his out the door price was, whether he financed it or not. Hopefully he didn't finance it. Hopefully you pay cash for a car so you don't have any debt. But even so, knowing that number, there's so many people that go in and buy a car. It's like, okay, I want to buy this car. What's my monthly payment going to be? I need my monthly payment to be this. And they have no clue what they're actually paying for the car. So I love seeing that comment, and hopefully watching this channel, other people that are watching this channel, they'll know to actually dig into the numbers and know exactly what they're paying for the car and not just what they're paying monthly for a car. Great job, Scott. Love it.
Do you see Subarus as long-lasting vehicle? How many miles do they average?
I like Subarus, and we buy quite a few. Actually, we buy a lot of Subarus. We like Outbacks, and I see them pop up at auctions all the time with 200, 250,000 miles. So they can run for a very long time. You have to take care of them. The only thing that concerns me with the Subaru, I think it's the Boxer motors. I think it's the 2.5s. They could have some head gasket issues. So you want to make sure when you're going to look at a Subaru, anytime you're looking at any used vehicle, my number one rule for you is find a good reputable mechanic first, and then take the used vehicle to the mechanic to have them check it out before you buy it. But if you're looking at it by yourself, you can check the oil. If you see anything milky, something that looks kind of milkshake-y, that's not a word, like a milkshake in your oil, any kind of chunky, anything like that, that could possibly mean head gasket. And that's my biggest concern for a Subaru. But other than that, if you get it checked out, I like Subarus a lot.
Do you see a drop in price for diesel trucks coming anytime soon?
I've already started seeing that at auctions. So the small auction that you see a lot on my channel, go there weekly. There's a lot of trucks that usually run there, a lot of heavy duty trucks too. And we're starting to see a lot of no sales and a lot of if bids come across on diesel trucks. And that means that the sellers still want a crazy amount for it, but the buyers are down here. They're saying they want to pay this much for it. And they really just haven't got that middle ground. And as you see these no sales continue to roll into these auctions, eventually sellers will say, you know what, we can't sell it for up here. So they'll slowly start to pull down price, and they'll finally get to the buyer level down here. And when the buyers are able to actually buy these trucks at the auction for the amount that they're trying to get them for, without these no sales, without these if bids, that's when you can see the turnover on dealer lots, as far as the prices to start rolling down a little bit. It's going to still take some time because you have to have prices drop at auction. You have to have all these no sales come through the system before sellers actually say, you know what, we've got to drop prices. When the sellers that then drop the prices, then you're going to have used car dealers buy these vehicles and still think they can get the moon for them. But then you see them, okay, we've got competition. We've got other dealers that are buying these vehicles for these less amounts, just like we are, and they're starting to lower their prices. And that's when you start having all of the dealers move prices down, because people right now, they shop by price. They don't go to dealers that they bought from before unless they're coming to our dealership. We got a lot of repeats and referrals just because we have cheap cars. That's what we're known for. But people are coming to us because of cheap prices. But people search online for their prices. That's how they buy cars now. And as we start seeing some dealers lower their prices, it's going to force other dealers to lower their prices, because they're not going to be selling anything, because people shop price and they shop online now, and that's how they find their vehicles.